So let's see if this thing works this time. Oh, it looks like it's actually working, JB. I mean, a live show that works. Who knew in Division III?
Who knew?
We're ready for ESPN Plus,
in.
since that's the new standard, the new mandate out there. Where's my 4-camera? Oh wait, I only have one.
It's a good thing Jen got me that for Christmas last year. I actually have ESPN Plus now because I watch a lot of lacrosse in the spring and a bunch of other stuff. So, I mean, I guess I'm covered, but it's a pain in the butt for everybody else, I guess.
A lot of people out there for sure. Listen, we want to highlight a couple people, and the Campbell Trophy finalists were announced. You probably know who a couple of them are in Division III, but we still want to pay homage to those two. And first, we're going to go a little to the west from where we are right now, out into the Illinois land. And let's hear from the athletic director of North Central.
From a record-breaking pool of more than 200 candidates nationwide, we are happy to inform everyone that North Central's very own Luke Clayton has been selected as a finalist for the 2024 William D. Campbell Trophy, the nation's premier Scholar Athlete Award. As a finalist, he becomes a member of the National Football Foundation's National Scholar Athlete class and will receive an $18,000 postgraduate scholarship. Luke and the other 16 finalists will be honored on Tuesday, December 10th at the 66th National Football Foundation's annual awards dinner at the Bellagio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. By the way, the flight, the hotel room, all associated expenses are paid for by the National Football Foundation.
Any of y'all, I really appreciate my brothers, my guys in my class that stuck with me the whole time. I remember during COVID we had a big group meeting with our entire class. And I just remember standing up and saying something that Josh Sloan said, if you guys remember, about making memories, and that's why we stuck through it all. Those memories we made in the dorms, even though we didn't have all the fun stuff you could imagine without COVID. Just those memories we made is what kept me around, and it was really the first time I felt like a true brotherhood with the football team I was on. I mean, just a group of friends I've gotten from my fifth years and everybody else to come after us. I just greatly appreciate it, and I couldn't have done anything that I've done on this football field without you guys, so I just want you guys to know that.
That's great. A man of few words with us sometimes. He's a very humble guy out there, and good to see him. And it looks like all the guys want the Bellagio treatment, that's for sure.
Yeah, I only have one thing of advice based on past experience with the Bellagio. Just, at the sports book, just bet on baseball. I've lost a lot of money and spent a lot of money at that casino. You just want to keep it easy. Just bet on some MLB games. Low stakes, makes it a little more fun. And since Luke's a great baseball player, I'm sure he probably knows which pitchers to pick in those ones. So have fun out there in December, and I have a feeling we'll probably see these guys in the playoffs, Frank. I think we'll be talking about the Cardinals a little more here and there.
Playoffs?
Yeah.
You talking about playoffs?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's head a little to the east of Illinois, and the audio is going to be a little tough on this one. Who you're going to see is Tommy Corey standing up and talking to his team at Carnegie Mellon about finalist number 2 from Division III.
I've been able to watch my brothers, I've worked really hard for a long time, man. Firsthand, always out for high character, do the right thing, dedicated life to football, academic, family, and brotherhood. And, so the Little D. Campbell Trophy is an award for the academic Heisman. It's an award amongst all 3 divisions of football. And there's 16 finalists. We got one on our team, so congratulations, Bobby. You're a Little D.
Guys, you don't know. I mean, a record-setting year, over 200 nominees from all divisions. There's 16 finalists. Of the 16, 13 of them are from Division I. One Division II, two Division III guys. This is one of them. It is the highest. It's the highest honor. When we talk about our program, we talk about we compete in everything that we do. We talk about competing, obviously, out on the field. We talk about competing academically. I mean, this is the biggest. This is the biggest deal. He now is our 6th honoree, which now also ties us for number 1 in all of Division III with the most honorees for this. So a couple small things, pretty big things too. $18,000 postgraduate scholarship, which I think will come in handy next semester with the Masters. The opportunity to win $25,000, and we get to go to Vegas. And be with honestly the biggest night in college football. The National Football Foundation Awards dinner is the biggest night for college football. It is unbelievable, and I can't think of someone, man, that deserves it more. And I couldn't have found anybody better in the world than Tommy. But it is a team honor, and it's something that is a big deal in this. And I encourage you to walk in our locker room today when you finish practice, and you see the Academic Wall of Fame, and you see there's 5 gold plaques for the 5 guys we had, and Bobby's plaque's gonna go up there in his face for eternity.
He wants this with his helmet on, though.
He will have to take his helmet off. But one more time, guys.
Real quick, I just want to say thank you guys, man. Like, it's not a individual achievement, it's a product of, everything we built, man. It's always been competing with you guys, trying to do my best to be able to, do it for you guys, especially Tom, man. On my butt my whole life, man, going after it together. So, he deserves it, just as much as I do, just like a lot of guys on this team do. We work our butts off every single day, man. And, it's just proud to be on this team, proud to be part of this group. But, I love you guys, man. So thank you.
And as I said,
they were like, take your helmet off.
Yes.
He was like standing up there the whole time, all suited up and like ready to hit somebody. What a prototypical linebacker. But I mean, both of these guys, the best of the best, not only in Division III, but to be part of this kind of Sweet 16 of the best student athletes in college football. I mean, what an honor. I think it's amazing, and I'm happy for those guys. They'll have a great time out in Vegas in December, hopefully they can work it around their playoff schedules. And look, there's a shot of Luke. Hopefully he looks like he's he knew what was coming, so he was getting ready for it. So that 2022 playoff game between the Tartans and the Cardinals was, to me, actually the best playoff game of that season. I mean, I know that Mount Union made things interesting late in the second half of the Stag Bowl, but really that was the best game I think the Cardinals had to deal with, in that whole run that they had to that 22 national championship. So, a lot of respect for them. Unfortunately, we saw, from our Crunch Time show, which, by the way, I felt bad again, like we were, a little late getting it out, but over 2,500 views in less than 24 hours. So thank to the fans. I mean, wow, that's really cool. I guess there was pent up demand. Maybe maybe we should just release them on Thursdays, Frank. Just say forget.
People want to know what MPI really is. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. And speaking of MPI, it's a shame that the PAC is getting so shafted by the MPI system. That really was one of the biggest takeaways, from that. And because a team, if Carnegie Mellon finishes 9-1, man, those guys deserve to be in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I just don't know if that's how that's going to work out for the PAC. We'll have to wait and see. 4 more games to go, and I think we feel pretty good about the Cardinals' chances. But the Tartans, if they get left out of this thing, that's going to be a crime.
Listen, we have a guest from Endicott coming up. We have a guest from Washington University coming up. We've got to get going here. We got 16 games to predict today. 16 games to predict. Let me just be clear on that. So let's get this thing moving. This is our Week 8 preview show of Season 17 of In the Huddle. I have lost my audio in my earpiece. However, I think you can still hear everything just fine. So I'm going to work on that for 1 second while you tell everybody about Region 1 and the games coming up in Region 1 of note. Go right ahead, sir.
All right. Well, starting off at noon, we got some good conference matchups across the board. So starting in the ECFC, Alfred State, Anna Maria. I mean, there's only 4 teams in the ECFCs, but one of them is going to get the playoff berth. And one of the things actually that that all the math guys haven't been talking about is the fact that there are going to be some teams that are like well below number 40 in NPI that are going to get playoff bids. This is the way the system works. It's an access-based system, so the champion of the ECFC, even if they're ranked number 127 or whatever it is, they're going to get in. And so if you're on that sort of 30 to 40 bubble, you gotta worry about that a little bit, because there are some teams that are pretty below in the rankings, but will still get access. And to be honest, Alfred State acquitted themselves pretty well in the playoffs in the past, so we'll see what happens. They got to go to Anna Maria. Ryan, I think not Ryan Reynolds, the actor, but they have a great quarterback there who can throw the ball. That should be an exciting game. Springfield Salve will be visited by the mayor himself in beautiful Newport, Rhode Island, along with the fancy mansions on the beach. That's a big game in the NUMAC, both undefeated teams there. And, CNE conference play kicks in a little bit. Another good NUMAC game, Coast Guard Norwich for the mug, which we learned about a few years ago when we had, I think, the Coast Guard QB on. And
Ryan Jones.
That's an interesting little rivalry. Ryan Jones, that's right. Interesting little rivalry there between the two service academy types that set up. Kings, undefeated, still in the MAC, has to play FDU Forum, which is licking its wounds a little bit after, basically getting sacked all game by Jaquez. So he had 5 sacks in that game. So the offensive line for FDU Forum needs to protect Ryan Thomas a little better against Kings here. That could shake things up in the MAC. And then in the CNE, Endicott versus Western New England. That's a road game for the Gulls, who are used to going on the road to play big games. But this will probably be their biggest conference test for them. The Bears have looked tough this year. They are improved. That's a game that will definitely have conference and playoff implications, and a few others on the board. But I think we should talk a little bit about this Endicott team, which is really, when you think about the last 3, 4, 5 years in Division III, I think you'd be hard pressed, Frank, to think of a team who's had a more fast rise from sort of a regional sort of player to a national contender. The job that Coach McGonigal has done in Beverly, Mass. has been incredible, and it's been because of a guy like Clayton Marengi that this team has really become a national playoff contender.
Are you suggesting we should talk to Clayton Marengi? Is that what you're trying to tell me? God bless you. But I want to start out by saying, yeah, you're fine. I want to start out by saying, and we said it before the show, you heard this, I think he approves of me saying this. He is our Matt Damon of our Jimmy Kimmel show here, because we've tried, and this is more our fault than anybody's fault over time, because we would try to hit them when they were doing travel, or it was just, we couldn't get the man on. Third time is the charm this season. We've got him. I better include him before we lose his feed somehow, some way here. But Clayton Marengi is joining us here. Clayton, thank you for kind of fighting through with us on all this and getting to join us this morning. How you feeling out there?
I feel great. Thank you guys for finally having me. It's nice to finally be on here with you guys.
Well, thank you. Clayton,
Awesome, thank you.
It's kind of interesting, the history here, because I got to go watch beach ball back when you really weren't the consistent starter back when, a few years back there. And I saw you out there. You had a great game. I interviewed you after the game, I remember, by the locker room area there, and it was all celebration. And that game, I'm trying to remember the opponent, and for the life of me, I can't, but I do remember, it may have been WPI or something like that that night. Okay, the old guy may still have it somewhere in here, but you really hit a good tenor in that game. That was where I think people began to say, why not this guy as the consistent starter? And you've done nothing but be a phenom, honestly, since that point. And field managers for sure with great stats. Did you ever see this coming, what JB was kind of referring to in terms of from a regional player to a national player type of situation with you kind of being the engineer of it on the offensive side of the ball? And how does it feel to have that happen under your watch?
It feels great. I think that's something you kind of always hope for coming in as a college athlete. You know, that WPI game, it feels like yesterday, but I think it just has to do with being confident, and that game kind of really kick-started my confidence as a player, and we've kind of just been getting better and better each year ever since, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and as we watch the not only the program, but you and your teammates kind of grow into this national contender, tell us a little bit about what it's been like. I mean, you guys get to do some stuff that not a lot of New England teams do. Fly to Texas, play against some nationally ranked teams and stuff like that. What have those experiences kind of helped bring you guys to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, that Texas game was definitely a great experience overall. Just to fly down with my teammates, it's something we've never really done before. I mean, the atmosphere is great. Obviously, it's a game we wish we could get back. They're a great team, both sides of the ball, but yeah, just a huge thank you to our AD, Brian Wiley, and our coaching staff for making that happen. It was definitely something I'll never forget.
Clayton, JB talks about a national-based game there, but your schedule is no pushover schedule overall. Let's take a quick peek at it here on the screen as I ask you your next question. I mean, Ithaca, a 13-7 win. That was an incredible game for you guys indeed. Yeah, RPI, no slouch of a team out there. Hardin-Simmons game, obviously close call. You played them, McMurray and you guys pretty much have played them as close as they've been played this season. That McMurray score, I think, may have been them looking ahead at some other things, to be honest with you. I think they knew you were coming in and still couldn't put you guys away in that game. But now we look at this conference play, and you have a bullseye on your back. You know this, okay? Obviously, Western New England used to have a little bit of the bullseye in their back years ago. Now they're going to try to flip the script on you guys on your last watch here this season. Tell us how you prepare for a game like this. How do you prepare for all these CNE games where everybody's going to come at you full guns blazing and trying to knock off the king? And remember, you're a team that probably doesn't want to go to 2 losses. Your NPI might be supporting of a Pool C bid. Don't get me wrong, 8-2, but you don't want to leave it to, as JB calls it, the robots out there.
Yeah, I think you try to prepare for this game like you prepare for any other game. Obviously, this is a game we're very excited to play. They always play us really well, and we know there's a lot at stake. I think both of us know there's a lot at stake here, but we talk about this. One of our initial goals every year is to get that conference, and we know that the conference is kind of our ticket to the postseason. But I think Coach McGonigal and the rest of the coaching staff have a good plan for this week and for the Saturday, and I got a lot of trust in them, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, and if you look at what Western New England has done this year, I mean, sure they're 4-2, but they lost to Springfield by 6 points. They're leading the NUMAC. They lost to Susquehanna by basically like 2 touchdowns. So I mean, this is a team that's pretty prepared. They've been battle tested, all the metaphors and all that kind of thing. You guys have had some good back and forth with them over the years, and what used to be the CCC, now the CNE. Has this game taken on a little bit of a rivalry feel because of that? Kind of the constant conference back and forth, or is it still just kind of just another game for you guys?
I think we try and treat it like another game. Obviously, they're a great team. We've kind of been the top 2 teams in our conference for the past however many years, I think 3 or 4 years. But, yeah, I mean, no matter the team, you try to always, prepare the same way no matter who you're playing. So,
Clayton, it says down here graduate quarterback. That means that you had a decision you had to make to come back for this year, as many players did have to make that decision related to COVID and all that stuff. Last year, you guys took Cortland basically to the ropes and then some, and they were able to, just survive that game out in Beverly against you guys. They were the ultimate national champions, and you probably are thinking what could have been in that situation. Was that game in any way a factor for you coming back? What made you decide to come back this year to do it one more time and, play with your brothers out on the beach?
Yeah, I think you could say that game was played a little bit in me coming back, but I think at the end of the day, it was really a no-brainer for me. Both obviously athletically, but academically. I'm currently pursuing my master's in sport leadership, and then obviously I graduated this past spring with a bachelor's in business management. So, definitely two great things to have under my belt. I'm looking forward for the future to see what's in store for me. But yeah, I think it definitely was a no-brainer coming back. You obviously got a lot of fifth years, a lot of my closest friends coming back with me. So.
Sports leader getting a sports leadership master's. I think this actually works. I think this is going to go well for you for some reason.
So we're gonna have a little fun here. First off, I'm a little familiar with the North Shore of Massachusetts, and you go to school about 20 minutes from your hometown, which is basically like just a little bit away from Salem. With Halloween coming up and growing up in Linfield, close to that, with the witches and all that stuff, is Halloween one of your favorite holidays, or do you like, oh my God, I can't stand this because of all the crazy, stuff that happens with all the tourists and everything hitting Salem around this time of year?
That's actually a great question. To be honest with you, James, I hate Halloween. I think all of it freaks me out, especially Salem. Just everything about it freaks me out. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. Man, I'm kind of glad that my kids have graduated out of the candy getting phase. I just have to hand it out now. It makes it a lot easier for me.
Get a wig, a long hair wig or something, and dress up like Coach McGonigal or something like that. Wouldn't that be the way to handle it? And
you know what? That's actually a very good idea.
Oh God!
Is there anybody on the Endicott roster who has hair as long and as beautiful as Coach McGonigal's? I mean, I've seen he kind of puts it up in like the man bun in the back, but no one has a flow like that guy, right?
You want to say that, but we actually do have a sophomore D lineman, Brian Daly. He's got some flow to him, so he's competing with Coach. That's for sure.
Okay.
JB's going to go do some research while I ask this question. Let's talk about Coach briefly here, Clayton, because he did buy into you after that WPI game, as I alluded to earlier. He came in. There was some controversy back when about the whole thing, and that's not his fault. He came in wanting a job and everything, and he's done nothing but succeed and getting the buy-in from the team and making this happen. Obviously, tell us about your relationship with him and what makes Coach McGonigal such a great coach. And how did this all happen basically under his watch?
Yeah, I kind of owe it all to Coach McGonigal. Just like we said, talking about where I came from with the WPI game to where we are now. I think it's great. Obviously, it's great to see where our program has gone, and it kind of all comes back to Coach McGonigal. He's created a culture for us that we've really kind of all bought into, and it's great to now see these as a fifth year. Now to see these freshmen and transfers come in and start to buy into what we're all about here, and it's only making us better. And we owe all that to Coach McGonigal, so we're very appreciative of him.
Clayton, I assume based on your hometown that you probably grew up a Red Sox fan. I was a Red Sox fan growing up too, although I will say being a Red Sox fan in the 80s was probably not as fun as it was to be a Red Sox fan during your time of life with 4 World Series. Sunday is the 20th anniversary of the 2004 World Series championship for the Sox that broke the curse, the 86 years, all this stuff. I mean, how great was it being a Sox fan as a kid growing up, like winning the World Series every couple of years? I wish I was you, man.
Oh my God, it was the best. I can't tell you how many parades I've gone to since I was, 8 years old, since the Celtics won it in 08.
Yeah.
Definitely very fortunate to be a Boston fan. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Philly's on the phone for you guys. They'd like to get some of that luck back. Clayton, always a pleasure, sir, to get to talk to you. And I do hope to get out to the Endicott game as things develop in this season a little bit more. What's interesting is, and I believe this is accurate based on the slide that I was working on earlier with JB's help, there's 17 undefeated teams out there. We will have only one undefeated versus undefeated game left this season. That's Mount Union versus Marietta. And so basically you have a bunch of undefeated teams that are all going to get sniped at from behind, and you're going to be one of those teams basically out there that's going to get sniped at. You're not undefeated, but obviously it's one of those situations where conference leaders are going to have some real tussles ahead of them, and you're one of those conference leaders, as we said, with those tussles. We wish you the best in that, but before we let you go, you get a chance for shout-outs to any family, friends, teammates, anybody else that might be out there watching our show. Clayton Marengi, floor is yours.
I think, first of all, I want to shout out my parents, just for being with me every single step of the way, no matter what that is. And I mean, no matter what that is. I also want to thank my Uncle Joe. He's actually from North Carolina. He's gotten the chance to come up and support me and watch a couple games, so that's always good to see him in the stands. He's also he's donated to our program, and that's helped us out tremendously, so I thank him for that. I also want to thank my buddies back home for supporting me. I know they got a lot going on, with starting their jobs and whatnot, but they still find the time to come up and support me, so I'm definitely appreciative of that. And, last but not least, I think I'm thankful for you guys for having me on today. I had a blast, so thank you.
I just want to say your maturation process over the last few years has been really, really a privilege to watch. Keep doing what you're doing because, as you talked about what's next for you, you're going to do great in whatever is next for you if you keep up doing what you've done these last few years at Endicott. Keep doing it. In the meantime, you got some football games to win and some playoffs to get to, etc. So we'll see you down the stretch. Best of luck. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Clayton Marengi joined us from Endicott College. And appreciate him coming on a little bit early. We got him set up and everything. Our second guest is already in the wings. So, look, we're having a day today. Things look like they're actually working today. Yeah, let's go. One thing I wanted to pick off here before we left the Region 1 slide entirely was to remind everybody I will be at the Bridgewater State Mass Dartmouth game 5:30 p.m. also. Right. So it's about an hour drive in most days between Salve Regina and Mass Dartmouth. I actually did preseason interviews, if you remember, a couple years back, I think it was, or a couple seasons back. Driving to the two of those schools, so I'm doing it in reverse. I think this time. I think I started at Dartmouth and went to Salve, cool. So this time around we're doing it the other way around. But let's go to Region 2. Let's go through some of these slides before we get to our next guest. And this Hopkins-Ursinus game, JB, very important. If Hopkins beats Ursinus, then the Hopkins-Muhlenberg game has some very interesting implications for the Centennial Conference. Mm-hmm. That the merry-go-round possibilities exist at that point at one loss. If Ursinus beats Johns Hopkins, Ursinus is in the driver's seat in the Centennial. Huge game there. Rowan Salisbury lost a little luster after that CNU game last week. Union Hobart, that's us. I'm Union, you're Hobart, as folks know. So we'll see how that one goes. I think, and this is my off-the-radar game on Quick Hits this weekend, this is a game that could go interestingly for Hobart. We'll see what they're really made of, I think, in this type of game. Alfred Utica, a battle of three lost teams. Dickinson and Muhlenberg probably should have about 130 points between them the way things go. Maybe this is the 86-84 game for all we know. Mooresville State, Brockport. Mooresville State coming off the high of just holding off Utica last week. And Case Western versus Westminster. Your game of the week. Go ahead, explain why.
Well, like we've talked about in the pack, Case Western has sort of quietly risen to the top of the class with a 6-0 record, but they've played teams with basically losing records on their way up. So Westminster is the first team that they'll face in this final gauntlet of the top teams in the conference. And if they can get a win over the Titans, it shows that maybe they are a legit contender here. We'll find out.
We're going to move it over to Region 3 here. Bridgewater, Randolph-Macon. Bridgewater, we're talking about teams holding things together and holding off teams at the end with that comeback that was successful in the end at the Shenandoah game. Randolph-Macon's been rolling since having some real bumps in the road early in the season. ETBU, Hardin-Simmons, it's a game to watch because let's see if Hardin-Simmons bounces at all after that McMurray threat basically last week. Yeah, it was.
ETBU is 4-1. They're a good team.
I know they are. I know they are, and have threatened. Mary Hard Baylor. That was a close game until the very, very end of it. Barry Trinity.
Yeah.
I know you were looking at this as one of your games of the week. We'll predict it later. This is interesting to ask the question of whether or not this game holds the same luster it did a year ago, at least when it's actually played, because that was a great game last year. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Will it return to that, or will it be a one-sided affair for one of those teams? We'll talk more later. Brevard Huntingdon, we thought this might be kind of the USA South Championship type of scenario, but not so fast because Maryville now has the control there. McMurray, Texas Lutheran. Can McMurray continue, looking good defensively, especially? And Austin versus Centenary, interesting game to talk about for the fact that Centenary still being the first-year program. This is a type of game they could actually win, and we'll see how they do with it. Anything you want to talk about specifically on that Region 3 slide, sir?
Well, I mean, I know the SCAC does not have a Pool A bid, but, you have to think if you're a McMurray fan, and I think that they only have one loss. Let's say if they win this game against TLU and they end up the season 9-1, I have a feeling that this might be a team that kind of gets undervalued in the MPI thing and could be left out in the cold potentially for a Pool C bid. We'll see. Hardin-Simmons was number 3 in the initial rankings. They only lost to him by 5. I don't know where McMurray is on the list right now. But it's one of those things. It's another, this is what you get when you have robots do this stuff. The Warhawks could get left out potentially. We'll have to wait and see if they maybe start to inch up if they keep winning.
Let's go to Region 4. Same screen, we'll just shift it over there. And only a few games to really note here. Wittenberg, DePauw. One would assume that that's DePauw's game all the way, but Wittenberg has come and upset teams before, so nothing is for certain any given Saturday, right? Baldwin Wallace, Marietta. Baldwin Wallace nearly pulled one off against John Carroll last week. Did not, but they could knock off one of those undefeated teams in the OAC. Again, there's only one conference that has 2 undefeated teams left, and the OAC is that conference with Marietta and Mount Union now. And then Adrian versus Hope. One loss Adrian versus undefeated Hope. Here's another situation of that sniping from behind on an undefeated team going on. That's one of my games of the week. You picked just Baldwin Wallace versus Marietta, but I'm sure if I gave you the option to pick a couple, you would have added the Adrian Hope game as well. Maybe even the Wittenberg-DePauw game. Who knows? Finally, before we go to our next guest, let's go to our Region 5 slide, and I will let you take this one away.
Yeah, not a ton of games to highlight, but the games that we do have are huge games in their respective conferences. So Wartburg is taking on Co at 2 p.m. You could maybe call this the de facto ARC championship game. Wheaton versus Wash U isn't for the CCIW title, but it does have certain playoff elimination elements to it. The team that wins this game will still stay with one loss and be in Pool C contention. The team that takes the loss will probably end up, looking at a bowl bid and be on the outside looking in from a playoff perspective. Wheaton, we know, has played a tough schedule, and Wash U is a team that I'm hearing from a lot of CCIW and actually North Central fans, ironically, of hey, don't sleep on these guys. They got this huge offensive line. They're playing well. If you look at their record, they're 5-1. They kept it close with North Central for a little while there. I mean, I know the final ended up being 49-9, but I think it was it was close at halftime when Luke Lennon had to step out because of a concussion or shoulder injury. It was 14-2 at the half. This Bears team has kind of been flying under the radar, and this is a game where they could really make a name for themselves if they win.
So, I don't know if you remember during the Crunch Time show, I sort of took my MPI list.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
I grabbed this to just check out where things are laid for the teams that we're talking about here. I can't even find WashU for some reason, but Wheaton's only toward the bottom of the first quarter, basically, of the listing. So they're not faring greatly in this whole thing. North Central being the number 4 team in MPI, and I will have to dig deeper to find where WashU
Even
is.
though they're the
unless
number
you're
one
gonna,
team in the rankings. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got a guest coming up that decided to, while they may not be the number one team currently in the CCIW, I would give him best hair of our show in the history of our shows, live editions, because he said, I'm going to go with the natural look and to screw the whole idea of, getting the hat on in the morning and everything else. JB, goes for that too a little bit. I just get the whole damn thing shaved off all the time. But Clark Stevens is coming on here to talk about that Wheaton game that you described, and let's bring him on in here. Clark, looking good, my friend, and thanks for joining us this morning. How are you doing, and how is that Wheaton game treating you guys? I'm guessing you've been prepping all week long for the Thunder.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I hope you can hear me all right.
Absolutely.
We've had a great week of preparation. I know you commented a little bit on my hair, but I had some pretty good lettuce going earlier in the week. I got a haircut, so this is the short look.
That's the short look.
Wow. Well, I'm looking at the roster photo, and it was longer. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But on to the Wheaton game. We've had a great week of preparation. This is a huge one coming up for us. Coming off of last year's game where we lost on a Hail Mary, this is like a real game where we feel like we can compete and we can go out and beat them this year. In our league, there's only so many games that you can get that have real meaning and contention, and this is one of them, and we have a lot of respect for them. So, looking forward to this game. I'm just super excited.
Yeah, and so Clark, tell us a little bit about, do you guys sort of feel there's a sentiment out there in the Midwest from other CCIW fans, even North Central fans, that there are a lot of people like Frank and I that have been sleeping on you guys a little bit, and that you have all the sort of requisite elements that you would need to be a playoff caliber team. You got a big physical offensive line. You guys can run the ball. You can certainly throw the ball. Your stats are pretty impressive to start off. This year you're throwing for 7 touchdowns, and it looks like you can actually run a little bit here with a rushing score. Tell us a little bit about this team, and do you guys sort of have that we like kind of being under the radar now, or is this weekend really a chance to sort of present yourself on the national stage and say, hey, we're legit here we go?
Yeah, we absolutely feel like we're a team that should be nationally present. We in my time here, we've done a lot improving up front on both the offensive and defensive lines. We feel like the guys we have in our backfield are, we have 3 guys who can really play at the running back position, and then out a receiver. I think we have some of the best receivers in the country, and that's not selling them short at all. I feel like we really have a chance to be a nationally powerful team. We've have a group of 20 seniors. That was Coach Keene's first recruiting class that we feel like, it's a special group. It's really just our time to go out and play against a nationally ranked team this weekend and show what we're all about.
Yeah, you bring up, a little bit of schedule type of question by even mentioning that. So let's go to the schedule, see how you guys have been faring here. For those that don't know, pretty good results there early on. Obviously, the North Central result, but look, nobody's faring well against North Central. Let's not kid ourselves at this point in time. A team that goes 9-1 in the CCIW will merit most likely a Pool C bid. You know that 8-2 will be tough sledding based on what we're seeing so far, but not impossible either. But Illinois Wesleyan, 33-23. That Carthage performance, 65-16. Elmhurst, 49-10. So obviously some stuff going well offensively. Tell us about the flow. Tell us about this season. How didn't you derail from that North Central game? How did you kind of put it all together again and get it going enough for that Illinois Wesleyan win ultimately by those 10 points?
I'm sure you guys understand that there's the week after the North Central game, and there's a bunch of injuries. It was a demoralizing game, I'm going to be honest. But our motto for that week was get right. So everything we could do to get back on track and get as many guys healthy and then put together a great game was really important. And I think we went out and did that. I think the score for that game was closer than it should have been. But playing a great opponent like that, you really just have to be confident in yourself and be confident in your ability to come back and put out another good game week after week. And I feel like we've been able to do that and responding after that game. So yeah.
Well, Clark, we actually have a random connection to you from your high school days. So long time ago, before we started doing these video things and talking about nationally ranked teams and all this kind of stuff, we just focused on a single league in upstate New York. And Coach Phelps, Chris Phelps, who is your high school football coach, was a guy who was on our show all the time. He was the St. Lawrence Saints head coach there for a while and had some good runs with them. And so I saw that you're from Bronxville, New York, like Yankees country. Good luck to them in the World Series. But how does a guy from New York, right around the Bronx, end up in St. Louis of all places, like halfway across the country? I mean, was it just one of those things where you got on the Bears' radar from a recruiting perspective? I mean, I know obviously Salisbury places students at some of the best colleges and universities in the country, and that's part of why kids go there. But just tell us a little bit about that backstory, how someone from the Bronx ends up in St. Louis.
WashU being a great academic institution and then having great athletics as well was a big reason why I looked into it. Also, I have an alumni, or my dad went and played football at WashU as well as my grandmother. So there was always that aspect, like in the back of my mind, thinking like, yo, I would always want to go there if they gave me the opportunity. And then not only that, but Coach Phelps, we've had guys go to WashU before through Salisbury. Not exactly for football, most of the time academics. And he just had a connection through the school. There's a few other schools I was looking into up in the Northeast, NESCAC schools and Union, Hobart, a couple of those. But WashU really just stuck out to me as, the best option. I love it here. It's been a great experience academically and athletically. So yeah, I make the trek across the country for that.
John Drock just fell off his chair. We're at Union College.
So did Coach DeWall. Yeah. I mean,
yes, he did. Although they have good
guy.
quarterbacks themselves. Yeah, no kidding.
True.
But Clark, the stories come out a little bit about WashU kind of not being part of the CCIW coming up here. And I'm not going to ask you necessarily about the feelings and the acrimony that can come from a decision like that, but it seems like you have enough connection to the school that kind of history tradition that's been forming for at least a little while with the CCIW. What would it mean to represent that conference one last time in some way, shape, or form in the playoffs if you guys are fortunate enough to get there? And, the future may be bright, obviously, and what's next, but tell us about, kind of that history and tradition and what it means to you guys.
It would absolutely mean the world to us, in one of the final, we have this year and next year as our last shot at going and representing the CCIW in the playoffs. The CCIW has been very good to us over the past couple of years, I think since 2016. We don't exactly want to look forward too much. That's not our concern right now as a team. Obviously going to the NCAC in 2025. All we could do is focus on the here and now, and beating Wheaton this week. It would mean a ton to our school. It would mean a lot for our own pride. to go and, show out in the conference and make the playoffs. So, it would mean a lot, in short.
Appreciate that answer. So while you've been talking and whatnot here, I have decided to follow up on the original discussion and question about the hair, and let's do a little side-by-side comparison here from what I believe is the roster photo for him. Is that not accurate?
Yeah, that's me.
More lettuce for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is some more lettuce. I can see what you mean. That is short comparatively. Not nearly as short as mine, or JB's for that matter, but looking good, man. Either way, long or short, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
It ain't going to be about the hair when it comes to the game this weekend. It's going to be about making sure the Thunder are tamed in a game that's going to be a dogfight, no doubt about that. And I believe you guys are hosting it, and so that makes it even better. What's the game day experience like at WashU? What do people do? Is it a big tailgate scenario? Tell us about that before we let you go.
This weekend's going to be extra special. We have a big tailgate going on. A whole bunch of other athletic teams coming out. A ton of fans coming out. We've done a lot this week to promote the game on social media. But the game day experience is great. We love having teams coming and travel to us rather than us going up somewhere in Wisconsin or Chicago. We feel like our home games are a real advantage. So I'm looking forward to game day. I'm looking forward to, enjoying the moment, and hopefully we can get a big win.
Before you go, we give you an opportunity as student-athlete guests on our show for shout-outs, any family, friends, teammates, etc. that might be watching the show. Clark Stevens, our first ever guest from WashU, I believe, in our 16 years, although we've branched out over the last 5 years, more or less. But good to have you guys joining us officially on our show here, and a great representative at that you've been. The floor is yours for shout-outs.
I'd love to shout out my family. My parents, they do a lot for me. Me and my brother. My brother's also here at WashU on the football team. And not only him, but my coaches, Coach Glass, quarterback coach, Coach Keene. He's done a lot for me, and I feel like I've grown a lot and matured a lot under his helm. So I'd like to thank him. And then shout out to all my buddies. I know they're probably going to watch this and text me about it, hit me up. That's really it. I just like to say thank you to you guys. This has been a fun experience. And go and beat Wheaton.
We got to go back for a second here. Your brother, name and position, just so I don't have to rush and look it up here.
Luke Stevens. He's a tight end.
Oh, so you're passing to him.
Yeah.
Could be. It could be a Stevens connection on Saturday. We'll see.
How's that relationship developed? How mad do you get sometimes at him or vice versa out there?
We're pretty cordial. We don't fight a lot. It's an incredible experience to play with your brother.
That's awesome.
He actually transferred from Hobart this past year, freshman year there. It's an incredible experience, and it's been fun.
In case you haven't picked it up, I'm a Union guy. JB's a Hobart guy from our graduation. So it is Union Hobart week, no less. Where the hell's my hat when I need it? There you go. Okay, take that, big boy. Don't mind our chicanery, but to hear that somebody transferred from Hobart on a weekend like this is just fitting perfect. We're going to predictions in a second here. So thank you, Clark, and good luck with everything this weekend and down the stretch here. Might see you in those playoffs for sure, if you can win this game especially, and then run the table the rest of the way. Best of luck.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clark Stevens.
We kind of let him off the hook, Frank. We should have asked him about the St. Louis barbecue. We have a tradition of asking QBs about what they serve there online, and St. Louis barbecue is the stuff. And it's funny. I do remember his brother Luke. This guy's a 6'6", 220 tight end. He had a touchdown for Hobart his freshman year. Definitely, it was a bummer that he transferred, but I guess I can't blame him. Hey, getting to play football with your older brother is pretty cool, but it's 6'6", whew, big guy.
Before we run to predictions, we still have one slate or slide, Frank. Pick your favorite there to go through. I will run through this quickly if you don't mind. The two Wisconsin games are my picks, Whitewater, Platteville, River Falls, La Crosse. Quick hits, I explain why this is a huge NPI implication situation. If La Crosse and or Whitewater lose, those teams are probably way outside looking in because those will be their third losses against Division III teams at that point in time. And that might be impossible to come back from. The folks over at D3 Datacast, well, D3 Datacast did say that a few years ago, Hope with 4 losses was the closest team ever to have more than 2 losses and be right on the edge. And if they had 3 losses, they would have been in that year. So it's not impossible. Ithaca could get in with 3 losses, we've discovered as well from some of the discussions. So long story short, it's not impossible, but you will be behind the 8 ball and then some if you lose, if you're Whitewater or La Crosse. Eau Claire at Stout, Stout had that game, it felt like, against River Falls last week, but didn't turn that way. We'll see if they bounce back. Gustavus Adolphus versus St. John's. Gustavus has not had the season they had last year where they pulled off some stunners in these types of situations. I doubt this is much of a game. Puget Sound, Linfield. Look, UPS took Whitworth to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so who knows? We might learn a little bit about who Linfield is from a game like this now with common opponent. Laverne, Pomona, Pitzer, Claremont, Mudscripps, Redlands. Hey, Redlands, did a good job getting that win last week. And Chapman, Cal Lute are rounding things out. So we didn't talk about it. I left it out by accident, actually. We were 9-2 each, so it wasn't intentional that I did that. So we had a good week, but I'm still behind by 4 games. So let's look here at our Week 8 predictions. We have 16 games to pick. That's a lot, so we're going to have to move fast here. It is 9:52 a.m., so we're going to go a little overtime here, folks. You're going to get a little extra action here. Let's get the music rolling, and let us go and start this clock. Here we go. First game is yours this week, and it's one of the 2 games I'm going to, Springfield at Salve. Go.
I'll take the Pride on the road. I think they're just too strong. They're the team to beat in the NEWMAC. They're getting some top 25 votes now in the AFCA poll. Springfield triple option wins it 42-30.
I'm about to lose my prime parking space, I guess, when I say this, because Kevin Gilmartin will not want to help me out on this, I'm sure. And it's not easy to park around this field. Trust me, it's a great field to watch a game at, don't get me wrong. Springfield's going to win this game by final score 35-17. We'll see if I'm wrong and who I'll be interviewing after the game. The other game I'm attending, Bridgewater State, Mass Dartmouth. Bridgewater State has not had the season like they have in previous years heading into this game, and so I'm going to say Dante Avila Santos and company. Well, they have that WestCon game next week, so you could get caught looking ahead if you're Mass Dartmouth. I don't think they will. Especially with us covering the game now, there's going to be a little extra focus maybe on this. So, Bridgewater's like, thanks, Frank. 42-27, Mass Dartmouth wins this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the Corsairs are going to put up a lot of points. I mean, Avila Santos had 6 passing touchdowns last weekend. I think he'll do that and maybe then some. I'll take the Corsairs to win 63-7.
We'll continue. Kings at FDU. Florham, your pick.
There's a home game for the Devils, but the offensive line performance, maybe it was just Del Val's players. I don't know. But it feels like sometimes Kings seems to get things done. I guess I'll take the Monarchs in this one. It'll be a close call, but like a 31-28 type of game.
Yeah, I just didn't like the lack of ability to respond last week by FDU Florham. It seems like Del Valle figured out their defensive scheme to a certain degree, and then offensively, obviously, Jaquez Maven, who will not be on the field for this game this week, just knew a way to get through. But I think Kings has the ability to win this game and hold serve on this whole MAC race going on. I'll give them an edge here of 31-24 in this game. Let's see, Endicott at Western New England. Clayton Marengi, thanks again for joining us. Endicott wins. They know what's ahead of them. They know what the sniping is going to be like in the game like this. It will be close, though, because this, for whatever reason, this game always seems to play out pretty close, with maybe one exception I can remember. Endicott wins 37-27.
Yeah, I'll take the Gulls 35-21. The Bears are going to score. It'll be close at the half, but the Gulls will pull away late.
Don't worry about what's on the screen because that's not the game. There it is. Johns Hopkins, your sinus. This is your pick. Go.
Oof. Can Ranello, this backup quarterback, knock off this undefeated Bears team? Yeah, why not? What the heck? I'll go with Hopkins. Just to make things interesting in the Centennial. The Bears have had a good run. And they're tough to beat at home too, but I just feel like Hopkins has had a little more competition, and so it's going to be a nail biter like they had last week against F&M, maybe lower scoring game, 24-21, Hop.
I think you just have something against teams with this letter going on here. Okay, that's what's going on here.
It's really not it's not my favorite, to be honest. Not my fave.
As a result, I will pick your Sinus to win this game. Hopkins did have a tussle against F&M last week. Your Sinus, I think, was looking ahead recently, and that's why their performance was a little bit off too. Look, I attended the Muhlenberg game. I know they can let up points. Hopkins has great defense, but their offense is sputtering right now because of Bay Harvey not being out there. I don't think Will Leger is back. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong in that. So I'm going to pick your Sinus here to continue the streak and win by a final score of 34-20. Let's see. Oh, Union at Hobart. I'm willing to sacrifice a game here just to be spiteful to my co-host from Hobart. But you know what? Just because they beat Ithaca, I don't believe in Hobart yet, okay? I'm going to flat out say that. I think that Union has a chance here. I think they had a good schedule scenario coming off the win last week now, having some momentum. I think that Coach Drock is beginning to get a feel here for what they need to do to be a spoiler for the rest of their games, because that's what it is now. It's playing spoiler. And here's where they can really spoil somebody's season. If Union beats Hobart, then, what happens to their MPI situation, what happens to their conference situation for Pool A possibilities. Union wins a nail-biter 21-20. Hit it.
Well, in my little Hobart blog that I do for fun, I had the Statesmen winning 31-10. We're the third-ranked scoring defense in the country, and I think that that's going to be a difference maker here. So I like the Statesmen at home, where they've won 24 of their last 27 games, I think. So home cooking in Geneva. Drock will give him a good run. That Flanagan guy can move the ball, but I'm going to take the Statesman.
Patch Flanagan. Did you hear that? Did you hear that heretic over there? I mean, Patch, if nothing else.
Hey, I'm saying at least they're going to score a touchdown. No one scored a
Cole
TD
DeSilva,
on Hobart
make sure
since
he
week
hears
5,
this.
second quarter. Just saying. It's week 8.
Keep saying. You know what? If I pick up that game,
10 quarters.
I should get double credit for that game. Case wants to reserve at Westminster. First game of note for Case. Hit it.
Well, as skeptical as I am of the Spartans as far as winning the pack, I do feel like this is a game that they can win, and they have been steadily improving. Don't forget, they were the pack champions just a few seasons ago and have been building back up. So I will take the Spartans in a close one. Their offense can put up a lot of points, but they're going to be playing against Bryce Butler and the ball hawk Titan defense. So I think it'll be a close one, but I'll take the Spartans to win, let's say 24-17.
Westminster is quietly 5-1. I'm just looking at this. They only lost to Washington Jefferson by 7 points. And they have given up, as you said,
team.
ball hawks for sure. Aside from the W&J game, 30 points in their 5 wins. You know what? I wasn't thinking of doing this until I just looked at this in its entirety. I'm picking Westminster at home in this game. I think this is a great game.
Wow, we're diverging a lot here now. This is good.
Yeah, okay. I have no issue with that because I need 4 games. So I pick Westminster to win it. 21-14. We'll go that way with it. Okay, next up, Bridgewater at Randolph-Macon. I don't think this one's too tough to pick. If Bridgewater struggled against Shenandoah on the road at Randolph-Macon, I think they're going to struggle even more so. Randolph-Macon wins this 31-10.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I'll take the Yellow Jackets to win at home 35-24.
Your turn, ETBU. Hardin-Simmons.
I think Hardin-Simmons will bounce back after that kind of local rivalry game. ETBU can put up a lot of points, so Hardin-Simmons will need their defense to carry him a little bit. But I'll take the Cowboys at home 31-24.
Yeah, I think Hardin-Simmons is going to put up a lot of points in this game. It'll be a shootout of sorts. 49-30 in favor of Hardin-Simmons. Barry at Trinity. This is not your Tucker Horn Trinity team, and it's going to be Barry. I think they're finding their footing again after that hiccup earlier this season. What was it, DePaul handing it to him, if I remember correctly. Barry wins this going away 31-17.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Brandon Cade and company will probably run the ball, try to keep the Trinity offense at bay. I'll take Barry to win 35-17.
Baldwin Wallace, Marietta, go.
Marietta still, I think, is going to stay undefeated. This game might be a little closer than what they've seen so far, but I still think Marietta wins 35-21.
Same story here, 37-20 actually is my score. Adrian at Hope, 1 loss. Adrian at Hope. This is a test for Hope, no doubt, but I'd still give Hope a chance to kind of light things up here. 34-24 in favor of Hope.
Yeah, I'll take the Dutchman 42-28.
Wartburg at Co. Ranked Wartburg, unranked Co. That's caused consternation in Cohawk country. Hit it.
The Cohawks found a way to win when they were at home against Central. But I think Wartburg might be a little bit better. I don't know. We'll see. If I don't pick Co, am I going to get hate mail though? I'm not sure, Frank. But I'll take the Knights. I think it's a low-scoring 17-13 game. Wartburg squeaks away with a win.
Address your email complaints to James Baker at In the Huddle because I'm picking Co. He ain't.
Oh.
I am. Co wins 2014 and another close nail biter. Wheaton at Wash U. I'm just not impressed by Wheaton this season, and I'm going to give Wash U the home serving win here. Wash U, Clark Stevens and company win this game, in my opinion. Boy, I think it's going to be a light the scoreboard kind of night or day or whatever it is out there. 40-30.
Yeah, I know they're not in Chicago. They're technically in St. Louis, but I'm going to go with the Bears. I'll like Stevens and company to hold serve at home, use that big offensive line, burn the clock, keep Giovanni Weeks on the sidelines. Bears win 35-28.
Whitewater at Platteville, you start.
I had a Twitter conversation with some fans yesterday. I feel like Whitewater is going to make it through the last 4 games. They control their own destiny. They can still, I think, win the Pool A bid even with the loss. They'll knock off Platteville on the road 28-27.
it doesn't make sense to me that they're not doing better than they are. And I understand the WIAC is what it is, okay, in terms of the strength. But Cincinnati and company, it's just, it doesn't make sense to me. The Mary Hardin Baylor game shouldn't have been the way it was. His sickness in that game obviously didn't help matters, and the pick sixes that came from him not being 100%. This is a game they got to win. You're right. Every game is a playoff game right now for Whitewater. As we said earlier on, I'll pick Whitewater. Oh boy, 27-17 in this game. Finally, River Falls at La Crosse. I think La Crosse at home, if Caleb Blaha isn't playing, is the way to go. I have not looked at the too deep, but I can only assume that Blaha's injury was more extensive than it looked when we showed the video of it on Crunch Time a couple weeks back, that it was some major type of strain or hyperextension or tear or some sort. I don't know, because I was surprised not to see him last week, to be honest with you. But I'm going to give the edge to La Crosse here by the final score of 37-24.
Call me crazy, but I saw what the
crazy.
Fitzgerald kid came in and did for the Falcons, and I think, he has a lot of the Blaha-esque stuff. He can run, he can throw. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game, and the Falcons are going to find a way to pull it out late, and it might be a stacked missed field goal, which carries the day. I mean, that guy has had some close calls, so I'll take River Falls to win 31-28. So we differ on 5 games, Frank. So either you're going to kill me and be up by 1, or this could be a whole, we'll see.
Listen, last year playoffs were what brought me back anyway. So, what usually happens is you'll pick up a couple, I'll pick up a couple on deviation weeks, and we end up sitting here in the same position again. So I don't think anything's going to change majorly. We'll see what happens. How do you watch this weekend, though? We just named 16 games and predicted them, which is pretty major for us. That means it's a pretty big week, folks. Just from that alone, JB, how do you watch it?
Well, you can start off in Region 1 with the noon kickoffs. There's some really good conference games, as I said, starting off in the EACFC and NewMac, and also the MAC Kings FDU Forum should be a good one. Springfield Salve is a game that you're going to be at, Frank, which will be another good one. Endicott WNE starts at 1. A lot of 1 o'clock games in Region 2 with Hopkins Ursinus is something to keep an eye on. Obviously, our little school rivalry with Union Hobart. 2 o'clock, we've got a good Empire 8 game with Morrisville and Brockport, which actually one 1 o'clock game to not forget about is Bridgewater Randolph-Macon. But then we start switching to the 2 o'clock games with Morrisville, Brockport, as I said, but ETVU Hardin-Simmons, Barry Trinity. We got Baldwin Wallace Marietta. We got Wartburg Co., Wheaton, Washington U at 2 o'clock. We got all the WIAC games, Whitewater, Platteville, River Falls, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Stout. And then we also have, I think, at 5, we got the McMurray Texas Lutheran game. Not as many 7 p.m. games out there. We do have Puget Sound, Linfield, which could be interesting depending on if the Loggers play Linfield the way they did against Whitworth the week before. So yeah, a bunch of different games. You got the Red Eyes on the West Coast starting at 10. Really, the only 7 o'clock game of note, I think, Frank, is Case Western at Westminster to tune into late, and then obviously at 5:30 the MassCat game that you're going to be going to Bridgewater State at UMass Dartmouth.
So, the winner of Union Hobart, if you win with your Hobart Statesman, you can figure out a way to roast me in the cold open on Tuesday or Wednesday. We really have to make it a Tuesday show this week for the simple reason I fly Wednesday to Austin, Texas to Ref and Gay Bowl this year, next weekend, and therefore I will not be attending a D3 game next weekend, but you get a double header for me this weekend. But the best way to handle Union Hobart weekend, from my perspective, honestly, is by doing this and saying, folks, thanks for joining us here on this show. See, because the Union grad is the producer of the show from the technical standpoint. He can do this, and you can't do a damn thing about it. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining us today in the Huddle. Thanks to Clark Stevens and Clayton Marengi and their schools for having them join us and helping us get them on. And folks, we'll see you all weekend on X. We'll see you next week on Crunch Time. For JB, don't know where he is Frank Rossi saying, thanks for joining us.